Hello and good evening, everybody from Hong Kong. Let us start our third live event. I will be checking to see if anybody is checking in. Hope your weekend has been good. Once you log in, please let me know that you are there, so I know that there's somebody on the other side. Pretty warm day in Hong Kong today. Hope you've also had a nice weekend, relaxing, no schoolwork, just chilling out. Hoping to see somebody coming in soon. I need to look at the camera and at the text at the same time. Let's see. Okay, good evening. Somebody just checked in. Who are you, please? Drop me a line. Nothing yet. I shall wait. Maybe send a quick reminder in the group also. Just to let everybody know. We are live now. Come and join us. There we are. Hopefully a couple of notifications will bring in a few more people. And yeah, I'll give it a little bit more time for more people to check in. Time difference is always an issue, of course. It is now exactly 12 o'clock noon time in UK, GMT. Okay, that notification helped, I think. Hello, Nazem. Good day. Good evening from Hong Kong. Good evening, Lucy. Good evening to you. Let me know where you are checking in from, so I know whether I should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. It's not always easy to know. Please check in. I can see 5 people are online right now. Please check in. Let me know where you are, who you are. I can only see that if you make a comment. Quickly send a message to the Language B group also. And start asking. I will do an introduction of all the resources in a few minutes. Just give a few more people a chance to check in. And then we'll get going. It shouldn't take too long today. It's all pretty straightforward, and I'm sure many of you have already seen some of the resources. So just here to clarify, to give you some more details on the wide range that we have now. And hopefully you will all find something that is of use to yourselves and to your students. Let's see. Nazan, please let me know where you are watching from. By the way, for the teachers of Language B, an interesting question was posted today by Todd Bouchard about the literature for French Language B higher level classes. Any suggestions for literature for the French B course? Todd is asking in the Language B group. So if you teach French B, please help him out. Post a few replies to his post and let him know which literature you present to your students and how that works. Why you've chosen that particular text or those particular texts. Always good to know what others are doing. Hello, Emily. Good evening to you in Jakarta. And good to see you here. I remember you from our workshop not so long ago. Noha, salam alaikum. Good afternoon in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. Good to see you all here. Okay. Hello, Elizabeth. Yeah, I hope the baby is there. I hope she will fall asleep just like she did last time I spoke with her for an hour. So good, what is it? Good afternoon to you in Latvia, in Riga. Beautiful Riga, very historical town, of course. So, okay, I will get started and hope more people will check in, but let's get started. So this evening here in Hong Kong, this session is really all about the new resources that we have recently published and launched into the big wide world. Some of these resources are second editions, some are new. So I will probably start with the source, the mother edition of all, the mother publication of that all the others are sort of based on, and that is the student workbook, the Language Ab Initio student workbook. The Language Ab Initio student workbook is a book that we put together about 2 years ago, really to try and guide students and teachers through the course, because we realize that, yes, the IB provides lots of interesting and informative materials, but sometimes there's a problem with implementing the guide, the language guide from the IB. So we thought, let's write a practical guide. What does it really mean to prepare students for the final assessments? What does it mean to teach text types? How do you prepare students for the individual oral, or for the reading comprehension paper, or even for the written assignment, which, as you know, we still have to do for 1 more year. And so we wrote and published the Language Ab Initio student workbook. This is the cover. This is the cover of the new edition. And this workbook has been doing really well around the world so far for the past 2 years. Lots of schools in lots of countries have been using it and have provided lots and lots of constructive feedback. So what we've done is we have taken the best parts of the first edition and kept those. At the same time, we've also upgraded the parts where we did get some feedback and tried to make it even easier and more user-friendly for teachers and for students. And then we've, of course, also added the new parts. Some changes have taken place in the course, or are going to take place in the course for first teaching from August this year. And so we have incorporated those changes in the new edition of the Language Ab Initio student workbook. Of course, the major changes there are the listening comprehension component. So we have dissected the listening paper, looked at the questions that the students will be asked, but we've also come up with strategies that students and teachers can use as they prepare themselves for the listening comprehension component in the exam. We've also looked in detail at the conceptual understandings, which are not only becoming a more explicit part of the course, but which will also be assessed for the first time in the new assessments, mainly in the new paper 1, the composition paper. So we've dedicated a whole chapter to the conceptual understandings, what they are, how to look for them, what they really mean, what the students should know about them, how they can identify them, and how they can show their conceptual understanding in language acquisition. So that's a new chapter that we didn't have last time, because last time conceptual understandings were much more implicit than they are now. The other one is about international mindedness. What does that really mean? We all have an idea. We all have our own definition of international mindedness, but what does that really mean in the Ab Initio course or in the Language B course? So we've also spent some time working on a chapter there to try and see, what is the expectation and how do we get the students from zero to that expectation? So that's also a new chapter there. What we haven't done is just done away with all the old stuff, because we don't think there is any old stuff. As an example, the reading comprehension in the current course, there are 21 questions that have been published by the IB and that are in the back pages of the language-specific syllabus. You will know those questions. There are 21 of them. In the new course, there will be only 13. So does that mean that 8 of those questions have become superfluous? Well, not really, because they are still comprehension questions. And I'm sure all of you will continue to work with past papers. So we have kept those 21 questions. We've put them in the appendices together with strategies as to how to teach or how to learn reading comprehension for those questions. So nothing has been discarded. We have moved things from the main volume into the appendices, but anything that we think is still worth as a student resource, as a revision resource, as a study resource, is still in that student workbook. So it's much more than just the current course. It's also extra strategies that will come in handy as you prepare your students or as the students revise for their final assessments. Okay, so the mother publication again is the Language Ab Initio Student Workbook. It's about 250 pages. It's all digital now, so the students don't actually write in the workbook. There's a good reason for that. As you know, the final assessments are still handwritten. Drop me a comment if you agree with me that students are less and less inclined to handwrite anything at all nowadays, yet the final exams are handwritten. So we are trying to, in a small way, promote handwriting. We also believe very firmly that if you handwrite something, chances are that you will remember it for longer than when you type something or you copy and paste from websites, for instance. So there's an intent to have the students handwrite as much as possible as they do the exercises in the workbook. Now you could say, well, why not give them a 250-page physical book in which they can handwrite? Well, we don't think that's very space conscious. A lot of the pages in the workbook are narrative, explain to the students how to prepare for particular assessments, what to look for, how to start an individual oral, how to move from one section to the next, etc. Those things don't need to be handwritten. They are printed and they are for reading. And so we felt that no, let's go digital. Let's keep the school bags light. Let's keep the students happy because they can now have this workbook on their phone, on their tablet, on their laptop. They don't need to carry it around physically anymore. They can't lose it anymore. If they switch devices, they can download the resource on their new device. So really, there's a lot of benefits. And I'm not even talking about the environment, about saving the forest, saving the trees, and also the fact that the publishing world is going digital. We're probably a little bit ahead of the rest of the world, and I don't have a problem with that. We are publishing only digitally. It's an extremely easy process. I'll talk a little bit later about the ordering of all the resources, but so those are some of the main reasons why these books are all digital now. I hope you think that makes sense and that you agree with our move towards digital publishing. Yeah. Yes, Elizabeth, you are right. They want to type. They want to type everything. They want to, especially in Google Translate. This will at least force them to, even if they type things into Google Translate and go the lazy way, they still have to handwrite the final outcome. So we do believe that we are forcing them a little bit more to handwrite things and thereby to remember things a little bit better. Okay. So that is the mother publication, the Language Ab Initio Student Workbook. Every student should have that. According to the feedback we have received, students who have been working with this workbook have been working at independent levels. Some students are quicker than others. Some students need 2 or 3 times to have things explained to them, whereas others get it from the first time. With this workbook, you don't need to explain more than once. You can refer students to the details in the workbook. One other point I need to make about this workbook is it's a generic workbook. This workbook does not teach anybody any language. It's a generic workbook written in English because we believe that almost every ab initio student in the world is taught by somebody who speaks English, and there will be some English in the course, especially in the first few weeks or months. So every student will access the information in this workbook without any problem. If we were to write this workbook in French, for instance, then students of French ab initio would have a hard time understanding some of the content. For instance, conceptual understandings. We don't need to explain those in French. Students need to know what they are and then apply them to the French they learn. Same for any other language. It would be a total waste of time to rewrite this book in the 12 ab initio languages. They don't need that. Okay? So it's a generic book, but of course all the exercises that the students do based on this book and all the exercises in the book have to be done in the target language. That's how it works. So I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, please type. I'll keep one eye on the screen. The other one, I'll move on to the second resource, which is also second edition. They are the student portfolios. So the student portfolios, we currently have these in 4 languages, in English, in French, in Spanish, and in Mandarin. Now all 4 are exactly the same resource in 4 different languages. We wrote them in English and then we translated them into the other 3 languages. And what they are really is a collection of, and I'll show you the cover here of the English one. Okay, now these are in the these are in the target language. These portfolios are really a collection of 333 questions that cover all 20 topics in all 5 themes, and for each question a whole range of answer options is given. So I'll give you an example. Question 14 in the student portfolio is, can you describe your home? Can you describe your house? Can you describe your flat? We don't just leave the students hanging with that question. Below the question, there is a table that has probably 30 or 40 different answer options where the student can choose what applies to him or to her. For instance, they can start by answering, my house has 4 rooms, or my house has 8 rooms, i.e. a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a living room, a dining room, etc. And all those words are given in the target language. And all the student has to do now is pick and choose the options from the answers that apply to him or to her, and then write up their detailed answer to the question, can you describe your house? Can you describe your flat? Another question would be, describe what you did last weekend. Now, some students will have gone to the swimming pool, others will have gone to the movies, others will have slept the whole weekend, probably the majority will have slept the whole weekend. Others will have maybe done homework or taken tuition, etc. All these answer options are in the tables. They are given in the target language. So again, every student will be able to find something that he or she may have done during the past weekend. They pick what they need from the answer options and they construct their own developed and detailed answer. Remember, when it comes to the individual oral, we don't want our students to just say yes, or I slept, or I did homework. We want them to give a detailed, developed answer with some personal input. Well, in all these answer options in this portfolio, they will find enough information to write down their personal input. Once they have done this, let's say you have just covered a unit on food and drink, eating and drinking in the new course, you can then refer your students to the chapter, eating and drinking, because every chapter is a direct copy of the 20 topics of the course. And you say, right, homework for the next few days will be to develop your personalized answers to questions 42 to 49, which all have to do with eating and drinking. And the students don't have to go look for information. All they have to do now is open their portfolio, go to the questions, look inside the answer tables, look for the information that applies to them. They will find all the food items that they may have had for breakfast. They will find drinks that they may have taken with their breakfast. They may find phrases such as, I didn't have enough time to have breakfast. I woke up late and I rushed to school. I didn't have time to have breakfast, etc. All those answer options are there in the target language. And so all they have to do is pick the ones that apply to them, that they like, and write those down in their personal portfolio. Sounds good, right? And so this is now available in 4 different languages: English, French, Spanish, and Mandarin. And we will try our very best to also get these portfolios published in the other languages. It is a bit of a long process to do this, but we will work on this. And as soon as anything becomes available, of course, you will know. Okay. So in summary, the portfolio, this is English, this is French, and this is the Mandarin one. There's also the Spanish one. I don't have a copy of it here now. But so these portfolios are now available in 2nd edition, completely updated for the new course. Now, what we've also tried to do is, of course, have some cultural information in the portfolio. In the Spanish portfolio, the food items are obviously typically Hispanic. In the French portfolio, expect a baguette. It's there. In the Mandarin portfolio, it'll be about typical Chinese food items, etc. So we've tried to integrate the target culture as well as the target language. The other thing the portfolio does, of course, is it allows your students to work independently even in class. You may find that in class sometimes you have to spend a little bit more time with a particular student who needs your help. You don't want to leave the others on their own. You just refer them to the portfolio. Say, right, keep working on this particular section, pick a few questions. Remember, we talked about X and Y and Z in the last few classes. How about you go to your portfolio and you work on that? It also helps to differentiate between your students. The strong students can be challenged to, for instance, use 2 or 3 past tenses in a description of their last weekend. Whereas for the student who is not that strong, you may say, look, just try to get 1 past tense and I'll be happy. If they can just use an imperfect tense or a perfect tense to describe what they did last weekend. So differentiation is also something you can achieve by using this portfolio. Okay. Now, the good news is also, this portfolio has been doing very well around the world, just like the workbook. And so what we've also done is we've adapted the Ab Initio portfolio to also act as a Language B standard level portfolio. But there you need to understand that the Language B portfolio is really a starting resource, something to be used at the start of the Language B course. It's not an outcome, it's a starting point. So if you are a Language B teacher, you will agree with me that students always come with different levels of proficiency at the start of the course. So you will find that particular students have a particular lack of knowledge in an area, could be a grammatical area or vocabulary. And so with this portfolio, you will allow your students to all get up to par. So at least there is a level playing field at the start of the course. And this should make your teaching of the Language B course a whole lot easier. If you find that there is a gap in somebody's knowledge, you just refer them to the portfolio and say, here, in order to catch up on what we are already doing, work on this particular topic, work on this particular unit. Okay. The applications of the portfolio, so the question is the portfolio only for spoken language? No, the portfolio covers everything. And in the introduction, I explain that really every assessment component of this course is covered in the portfolio. How? All right, so in the new course, I've talked about the individual oral already. Probably any question that you can think of as a teacher has been covered in the portfolio. Maybe not in exactly the same words, but we've asked pretty intrusive questions, if you like, into every single topic. So I don't think there are many questions you can ask that are not already covered, so the student will not be surprised by any of the questions you ask in the individual oral. How does the portfolio relate to paper 2? Paper 2, reading comprehension. Obviously, the portfolio is chocker full of vocabulary in the target language. In order for the student to construct their answer to any of the questions, they need to understand the answer options. They will find words that they don't know yet, so they're going to have to look them up. They're going to expand their vocabulary. They are going to recognize many more words at the end of studying the portfolio than they did at the start. And so their reading comprehension skills will be greatly enhanced. The same will apply to listening comprehension. The portfolio is a resource that can easily be read out. Students can do classroom presentations on their personalized answers to some of those questions. Other students will hear those answers. They can be asked to paraphrase those answers, etc. So, coming back to the earlier example, can you describe your home? Let the student come to the front of the room on Monday and say, well, my home consists of so many rooms. These are the rooms we have. In the bathroom, you find these items. In the kitchen, this is what we do. In the living room, we watch TV, we have our conversations, etc. We receive our guests. Somebody can present that, and at the end of the presentation, other students can be asked to paraphrase what they have heard, thereby enhancing their listening skills. So yes, for sure, the portfolio also enhances the new paper 2 skills for reading and listening. And then, of course, what's the difference between talking in the oral exam about your last weekend and writing in your paper 1, your composition paper, about your last weekend? Not much difference. So again, the writing will be practiced because the students have to write down their personalized answers in their cahier, in their quaderno, in their workbooks, etc. So the portfolio really covers each and every aspect of the course and each and every evaluation of the course, assessment of the course. It's a great resource, even if I say so myself. Okay. Let me know if there are more questions on the portfolio. Okay. And then the third resource that we have, and that is some already, others are being worked on, is the series called How to Ace the Ab Initio course. How to Ace at this moment in time is limited to Mandarin Ab Initio. In Mandarin Ab Initio, we have 2 fantastic resources that are completely ready, also in their 2nd edition now, 2 of them. One is called How to Ace Mandarin Composition, and the other one, How to Ace Mandarin Reading Comprehension. Okay, I will show you the covers of both. So this is the composition resource. And I also have for you the reading comprehension. Hope you can see that. Okay. Both of these resources have been written by Dr. Lu Shaiyan, a highly experienced Mandarin Ab Initio teacher who decided to put together these 2 booklets based on past examination papers. So the level of these 2 resources is exactly the Ab Initio level. So in the reading comprehension booklet refers to the past reading comprehension papers from the past 12 years, from 2005 all the way to 2017. So on the basis of the reading comprehension papers, students are being given different types of tasks. First of all, they are provided with vocabulary boxes to help them understand the content of the texts. They are then given key grammar that appears in this particular text. So the grammar is then explained in context, taken out of the source text, is explained in context, and then there are particular structures that are rehearsed, that are revised, and the student can practice, thereby expanding their grammar understanding and knowledge of particular grammar points in Mandarin. Following that, they are then asked to develop a little conversation on the same topic, on the topic of the reading comprehension text. So for instance, if the reading comprehension text is an interview with a famous author, then the students will, for instance, be asked to also develop their own interview with a famous person. Now, that must not be the same author. They may choose their own famous celebrity from Chinese culture. Let's say they want to interview Jackie Chan, or a singer, an actor, etc. They can do so, and they then have to create their own interview, orally as well as in writing, using the key vocabulary from the source text and using the key grammar points that have been highlighted in the same topic. And so if you try to think how many past papers there have been from 2005 to 2017 for the November session and the May session, and then you know in each paper how many texts there have been, each and every one of those texts for each and every examination session is included in the Mandarin Ab Initio How to Ace series. That's an amazing amount of resource all in one publication for you. So don't hesitate. You have to get this today. It's a fantastic resource. And again, it allows for independent work. It allows for differentiation. It allows for lots of homework, which I'm sure your students will love. So make sure you get that particular resource. So that's for reading comprehension. Currently, we are working on a listening comprehension resource based on the same texts. So besides the reading part, there will also be a listening component now. These texts are being recorded and will soon be published, that students can, rather than read them, they can also listen to those texts and answer a different set of questions, all based on the new format of the listening comprehension assessment in the new course. So that resource will be out very soon, and you will hear from us as soon as that is out, because we understand that many teachers are looking for listening resources, so we are trying to at least provide some of those in the very near future. Okay. Then we move to how to ace Mandarin composition. So same thing, try to think how many past papers there have been between 2005 2017. And so all the instructions from past papers have been collected, have been grouped according to the text type in this particular case. Yeah, I forgot to mention, in reading comprehension, all the texts are grouped by topic, the 20 topics of the new course. So when you have finished teaching the topic of eating and drinking, it will be very easy to refer your students to the text, the reading comprehension texts and the listening comprehension text that are on the same topic of eating and drinking. Yeah. Back to the composition booklet. In composition, the texts are grouped by text type, because remember, in the new course, the students will be asked to choose the text type that they are going to use in their composition. They have to choose from 3 options. So here, through this division by text type, the students will become better acquainted with each one of those text types that they may have to write in their final assessment. And so for each of these instructions in the composition booklet, the students will find the instruction. They will then get a sample answer to that question. First one with pinyin, followed by a second version without pinyin. And this is to allow for progression, to make sure that in the first time of writing, the students understand not only the character, but also the pinyin, the pronunciation. In the second time of writing and reading, they will not have the benefit of the pinyin, which of course they don't have in the final assessment either. So we've built in this progression to make sure that students can move from the basic to the more advanced, from the pinyin to the no pinyin version. And so for each one of the composition instructions from past papers, the students will find sample answers that they can read, that they can try to paraphrase, that they can even try to memorize. The same instructions will not come up, but very similar ones will certainly appear. So hopefully this will assist all the students in their writing as well as their reading. Also in the written task for next year, for students still doing the written task, obviously composition is part of that. So that's what these resources do. So I've been talking for half an hour now about just 7 resources really. The Language Ab Initio Student Workbook, the generic workbook for all teachers and all students, is really a guide through the Ab Initio course that will explain to students in very great detail how to prepare for, how to draft, and how to tackle each and every assessment at the end of the course. The same workbook also introduces the student portfolio. I have talked in detail about the 4 portfolios that we have at this stage, the English, French, Mandarin, and Spanish Ab Initio portfolios. 333 questions covering all 20 topics of the course, and each of those questions is followed by a very detailed answer table with plenty of options for the students to pick from so that they can construct their personalized, their individualized answer to each one of those questions. This is all done in the target language. The questions, the answers, and the writing are all in the target language. The same portfolios exist for Language B and also for MYP language acquisition. We think for phases 3 and 4. If you teach MYP phases 3 and 4, then your students will be very well served with the MYP portfolios in the same 4 languages. You will find those also on our website. And lastly, I have spoken about Mandarin ab initio, how to ace Mandarin ab initio reading, how to ace Mandarin ab initio writing, and soon to be followed by how to ace Mandarin ab initio listening comprehension. And so these are Mandarin-specific resources, all based on 12 years worth of past papers, genuine past papers, with the exact same level that students are expected to have at the end of the course, but with lots of support such as key vocabulary, key grammar points, lots of tasks that the students carry out both in reading, in writing, in speaking, and in listening very soon also. So, fantastic resources. I guess at this point you shouldn't be watching anymore. You should be pressing the buttons as, where do I order, where do I order? So, to finish, let me refer you to our website. Hopefully you have been connected, you have found it at least once. Please type in www.mihunlimited.com. MIH stands for Make It Happen. Make It Happen Unlimited. MIHunlimited.com. And when you open that website, you will immediately see a tab, and I'm going to open it while I'm talking. You will immediately see a tab called IB Language. And when you put the cursor on that tab, there's a drop-down that talks about the student workbook, the portfolios, the How to Ace, the Language B portfolios, the MYP portfolios, and also Language A self-taught, which is an area we are currently developing. And then the second tab from the bottom is called How to Order Our Resources. And that's where you need to be if you want to start ordering these resources. Just have a look at all the resources. Click on the one you're looking for. If you're looking for a Mandarin portfolio or for the student workbook, just click on the right tab. You find the cover, click on the cover, and you will then see the sample pages. Sample pages that will give you an idea as to what I've just described. What is inside each one of those resources, each one of those publications. Have a good look. If you have any questions, obviously, feel free to ask them. Just send me a word through Facebook or an email. You can email us at mihabinitio@gmail.com also with any questions. If it's a question that you think many people should see and also know the answer to, then by all means put it on the Facebook group, and then it's an open conversation that we can have with everybody. And so once you've decided that, yes, these are the right resources for your students, and you will decide that, I'm sure of that, then just click on How to Order. You will find a spreadsheet that's very easy to fill out. All you need to type in there is the contact in your school on tab number 4, the contact of your school, the ISBN of the resource you want to order, the title, and then the names and email addresses of all the teachers and students for whom you wish to purchase those resources. Send us that form. The email address to be sent to is on the form on page 1, and within 24 hours you will get a reply. Within 36 hours you will probably have all those resources on your tablet, on your laptop, on your phone, wherever you want to download them. Once you have them on the tablet, on the phone, and on the laptop, please be advised, these are not PDFs. These resources can be compared to Kindle, so you can see them, you can read them, you can annotate them on the screen, you can highlight, you can make notes and all that, but you cannot physically download them as a PDF, so they cannot be forwarded, and they cannot be printed off screen. You can't do that either. So this is industry standard. This is the way we had to go with these new resources. This is the way all educational resources will be very soon, we've been told. So we're just ahead of the pack. That's how it is. So, but yeah, every student should have these resources on their screens, whether it's on their phone, on their tablets, or on their laptops. They can be used online as well as offline. So if you have Spotify, you've probably been hearing the ads about, Oh, you can use Spotify on the plane? Well, you can use our resources on the plane too. And you can use Spotify in a submarine? Yeah, and also our resources can be used in a submarine. They can even be used on the moon. So that's how good we are. I hope you have enjoyed what you've heard. I hope you like what you have heard about the resources. By all means, if you have questions, don't hesitate to let us know. We will answer them immediately. We look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to seeing you use those resources. And once you are using them, please let us know how you use them, how they are effective in your teaching and in the students' learning. And also, if you have any constructive feedback for upgrades, then let us know, because many of these resources will be upgraded on a yearly basis, especially the How to Ace series in Mandarin, because it is based on past papers. When new past papers appear, they will be included in the next edition. So, yeah. When you order the resources, by the way, you can lease them. You're not buying them. You are leasing them for either 1 year or 2 years. This allows us to constantly update the resources, making sure that you and your students always have the latest, the best, and the most complete collection of information, as well as past papers that we can possibly provide to you. I hope all of that makes sense. Yeah, I think in 10 seconds I will end, unless there is any final question. People have been listening very carefully, not too many questions. I'll take that as a positive, that I've been very clear. But yeah, if any questions, of course, do ask. Okay, I'm going to wish you a very good evening, afternoon, morning, or night from here in Hong Kong. And let's keep in touch. We will back in due course with more updates, with more information. Looking forward to the next event. Goodbye for now.